You're listening to the PR Wind Down Podcast, the show for public relations professionals who are ready to see real change in the PR industry. We are your hosts, April White and Laura Schooler. Let's get ready to wind down. So, Laura, I am heading to Los Angeles on Wednesday for Expo West. Have you ever been to the giant trade show that is Expo West?
Wait, I've heard of it, but wait, what industry is that again?
It is bonkers. This trade show.
It's the bonkers industry. Okay.
It's no. It's not for bonkers. I'm just saying it is like huge. The leading trade show in the natural, organic, and healthy products industry.
Ooh. Okay.
So it has a very wide variety of clients. So that should be fun. And then I'm going to stay the weekend and hang out with some of my LA acting class friends.
Right.
And get new headshots on Monday because I've lost 25 pounds.
You lost 25 pounds? I think I found it. You want it back?
Normally it doesn't matter for headshots, right? Because they're not usually full body and who cares?
Right.
But my face actually doesn't look the same.
Your head is smaller?
My face is smaller. You're always supposed to look like your headshots. And I was like, I don't think I look like these anymore. All right. Well, on that kind of bizarre intro note, do you want to kick into our...
Well, actually,
yes,
it's not that bizarre because our news of the day fits into this weight loss because, I don't know, is it because you've been eating cereal for dinner or something?
I have sometimes been eating cereal for dinner.
So that's what the CEO of Kellogg's told people to do in an interview that he had recently, and it blew up in his face. So let's dig into that story a little bit.
Let's do it. Okay, let's hear about this. Okay, so this is the perfect segue about the Kellogg CEO facing backlash over making a comment about eating cereal for dinner.
Right.
Go ahead, Laura.
Right. So it's a little bit like let them eat cake or whatever. I get it. I also understand what he was trying to say. He wanted to promote his product and be like, hey, if you're in a pinch or don't have that much money, like our cereal is so healthy and wholesome that you could eat some cereal and it would be great. I don't think he actually thought that people of diminished economic means should be eating only cereal for dinner 7 days a week. But that's how it came out, and that's the way people perceive it. And that is why media training, messaging, and being conscious of what you are saying, especially in the time that we are living in, is so important.
Yes.
But then what does the PR people, either in-house or his firm, what do they have to do to clean this up?
So just to set the stage a little further, so he apparently appeared on CNBC, and that's where he made the comment. And then I guess they've been running some cereal for dinner ad campaign since 2022, which didn't get the same backlash until he came out, right? And said it because the difference in the ad is that it portrays that cereal can spice up like a monotonous dinner menu. But what he said was that, if you're tight on cash, so have cereal for dinner.
It's interesting. And I think I read this somewhere too. To remember the platform or the forum of the message, a commercial on TV or whatever is different than the CEO talking to a business reporter on CNBC Live. It's different delivery mechanisms, so it's going to hit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on CNBC where that's sort of left, and they're going to say, "Oh my God, he's telling people with no money to eat cereal,"
So since the initial comments were made on February 21, the brand and CEO went completely radio silent, which gave way to even more social media chatter and press coverage.
Oh, right. I read that too.
They kind of like made it worse.
They did because they didn't have Molly McPherson apparently to jump in and tell them how to handle it. You have to deal with that stuff like in 30 minutes, literally, at least address it, buy some time, and then maybe come out. But you can't just do nothing. So I can't believe a company like Kellogg's is so adrift with, a crisis communications issue.
Well, and apparently it's gotten even worse because now users across LinkedIn are basically in the comment section are just torching Kellogg's, and then those on TikTok are encouraging a boycott of the brand. So there's actually a
Oh,
hashtag boycott Kellogg's. and which isn't funny. I shouldn't be laughing. It's just this started, so it's been viewed like 23 million times on TikTok as of March 5th. And then apparently Kellogg typically reserve neutral coverage, or sorry,
right.
typically gets neutral coverage, right? But this is just soured everything per a study by Muckrack. And then these
Mhm.
comments have attracted even roughly 3 times more readers than Kellogg's average news readership. And
So
so
they're
the
getting
negative coverage is like, it's just
right,
like spiraling out
amplified.
of control. Yeah, right, right.
So they're getting more negative coverage and mentions than ever, and 3 times more people are reading, coverage than ever across all
Yeah,
these different platforms.
yeah. And
Oh
it's taken
god.
on a life of its own on social media.
Oh my god. It's not easy to be a brand in this day and age, and you have to be very conscious and cognizant, and things can go wrong, and that happens. But then you have to have a crisis team who jumps on the fire. Like I said, within 30 minutes, you have to make a statement on social media. And as I think I saw Molly McPherson say about a different crisis issue once, don't go on the same social media platform where the problem happened. You can go to a different one so that you're not actually throwing gas on the fire, you're addressing it elsewhere.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, so I just looked up to see where the CEO of Kellogg Company is based, and he's in
in the
Michigan.
Midwest, right,
Yeah, and so I that was what I was afraid of because as a Midwestern person, that's the kind of like no nonsense stuff you would say, but that doesn't resonate with people that are a lot more sensitive on the coast. But I can totally imagine, my parents in Iowa saying something like that and thinking that it was clever and not understanding that it was tone deaf to society at the moment, right? Without
right.
realizing it could be so offensive. So, and I'm sure he didn't intend for it to be.
Of course not.
He's a smart guy, went to Duke Law,
Right, but how out of touch might he be
Well,
with
this is why your comms team needs to help make sure that what
yeah,
you're saying is in line with where things are culturally. Even if you don't agree with them, you still have to be sensitive to them and, kind of navigate around the murky waters, as it were, or the,
yeah.
yeah, potential pitfalls.
I mean, do I think that people, overreacted? Yes, but that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I
It
think or
doesn't
you think
matter
or
when
he
things
thinks.
took off,
Nope.
sadly.
I bet they cut off Marie Antoinette's head. I heard that that story is not really exactly true either. But anyway, let's just say that it is, that she said,
Yeah.
let them eat cake, and so they cut her head off.
Yeah, yeah.
So what should the brand do before,
Well,
during, or after?
I do see a quote in here from a marketing consultant, and she says the reality is the only way a brand like Kellogg should comment on the rising cost of groceries is at the business level or by announcing a program or donation to help, not by having a CEO tout their marketing campaign as the solution, which I agree with. But what I
Mhm.
like about what she says is the idea of announcing a program or donations. I think at
Mhm.
this point, maybe to cover their tracks, they do need to do some kind of you know, donate cereal to
Yeah,
homeless shelters or offer like, hardship coupons or I mean, I don't I'm making this up on the fly. I'm sure there are more insightful or creative or on brand things to
right.
do. But I do think something like that could help alleviate the backlash a bit. Obviously, it's going to get them more press because they're doing something reactionary, but I don't know that they can just sit by and let it fade away at this point. So I do think something proactive like that could be helpful. So that's something I would recommend they look into is some kind of, social do good program and or charitable act or program or service or discount or fill in the blank.
Yeah.
That'd be my recommendation, even though it
Yeah,
sucks.
I guess. I mean, I
I
don't
don't
know what else to
but I
say.
don't yeah, I don't either. Unless he, you know, could be messaged well enough to do a follow-up, go on air and apologize and say what he really meant and talk about, people he knows that are close to him that are struggling in this economy, something like that could work too, maybe a combination. Like,
How
"Hey,
about
I didn't mean this to be so glib. Like, I understand people are really suffering right now, and this would be ideal, right? This is what Kellogg is planning on doing. We're trying to do our part as a company to help those in need." Some like
do
an
you remember the
apology
movie
coupled with an action.
do you remember the movie Mr. Mom?
Barely.
So anyway, Michael Keaton and Terry Garr are married, and he loses his job at like the auto factory, and they're in the Midwest. And
Yeah.
she goes back to working in the ad agency, and she comes up with this ad campaign for Schooner Tuna, and she suggests that they lower the price of the tuna in this ad campaign. And anyway, and so maybe they should lower the price of their cereal.
That's a good option too. I think any or all of those things, depending on what's feasible financially for them, it's still cereal, so I think their margins are probably allow a little bit of grace there.
Right.
Those are my recommendations. I wish we had Doug Spong on to see what he would say, because I'm sure he would have another idea, but
Yeah.
alas.
All right.
All
Well,
right, so with that, shall we move on to the horror story of the day?
yes, please.
Okay, do not open until podcast. Hi, April and Laura. Here is my problem. I have this one client who's pretty happy in general, but I can't get him on a freaking call. In the first 6 months of our relationship, he would join calls and half listen, half answer emails, or type off camera, and that's fine. A lot of my clients do that. Then he started canceling and not responding to texts or emails when it was time to reschedule. He answers emails with media ops, but ignores my agendas, recaps, and pleas for his availability. I even tried rescheduling on my own and sending him an invite, and he never acknowledged it. He seems pretty happy with our newsjacking coverage, but we have an announcement coming up, and my team needs more input from him to develop strategy. I don't think he's ghosting us to fire us. I think he just doesn't care to make the time as long as we're getting hits. I finally got him to join a call last week, and 5 minutes in, he said, "Had to bounce for a customer emergency." I even tried having my CEO reach out about rescheduling, and he said he'd get back to us, and then never did. What can I do to get this guy to join like at least 15 minutes a month? I feel like it's only a matter of time before there's a mishap from the lack of contact. Signed, Ghosted.
Yeah, I understand their feelings and dilemma. What do you think? This is probably more up your alley.
It's definitely, I mean, this person is right to be alarmed, because clients that won't communicate with you are at a bigger risk for leaving. And a lot of times they start doing that when they aren't happy. But I've also seen clients do it when they are really happy and they feel like everything's sailing along and the team doesn't, I don't need to waste time talking to the team. So one thing, I mean, if he won't even respond, I would say that the CEO needs to like dog him for a call to just talk about if there's a better way to communicate with the client in general,
Mhm.
because sometimes clients are much happier with written updates, or
Mhm.
maybe they're better at answering text messages. Or we had one client, I don't know if you remember this, Laura, but we had one client that the only way to get his attention is to send him a video or audio note on Marco Polo.
Marco Polo.
And like,
Marco.
but once we figured that out, everything was fine. Then the team just had to download Marco Polo and get him that way. But that's because that was how he was communicating with his team, right? So I think that it's a matter of just figuring out what this guy's preference is. Maybe it's
Right.
text, Telegram, WhatsApp, Signal, Marco
Signal, right.
Polo, Instagram, direct message. Like, you don't know, but there's got to be somewhere where this person is regularly talking to people that would
Right.
feel like less of an imposition to send urgent requests there. And then
Right.
just try to limit the communication, right? Like, not, especially with those clients, you don't want to do any of the dog and pony show where you spend 10 minutes like reading through the clips you got,
Right.
because they're
Get
obviously
to business.
get to
Yeah.
business, right? Like, hey,
What
so
are
at
we
the
doing?
top
What do
of
we
our,
need?
yeah, top of our agenda are all the media hits we got. You can see that we did really well this month. This is what we need from you. And if you have 2 minutes, we love this response. And if you can send through XYZ, we're good. And then we'll let you go and have 20 minutes back. So I think you really got to like be mindful. And there's definitely a different business style on the coast, whether it's East Coast or West Coast. And a lot of West Coast people are a lot more chit chatty and kind of, go through things at a leisurely pace. But if you have a client like this and you have somebody on your team who's got that kind of East Coast attitude, I would definitely have them lead, because people on the East Coast tend to be like, all right, down to business. This is what we got. I don't want to waste your time. How you doing? Okay, great. And then like
Right.
just sort of, move on, get through it as fast as possible.
Right.
So I would definitely limit any superfluous conversations or how was your weekend? Like that person is not
Totally. That's
doesn't want
really
to.
funny.
So and it's like we're also taught to do that to build relationships, but I think sometimes you build a relationship with those kind of people by not doing that,
Right. That's
because they
really
want
funny.
they want your efficiency and to know that you respect their
Yeah.
time, and that's going to go a lot further than asking them about their boyfriend or girlfriend or
Right. Or
husband
what
or
they did
wife
that
or
weekend
children
or
or yeah,
whatever.
or
Yeah.
their next
I've
trip or their dog or like they're like,
totally. I've seen
shut
it
up and get to
happen.
business.
I've seen it happen recently where they had to change who was leading those calls for that very reason.
So
It's just weird, like people's personalities, whatever. It just, doesn't
yeah.
work in business
And
sometimes.
some people you could pick it up too, but you definitely need to at least make sure that you're darn sure that whoever's leading the call can make it as expedited as possible, basically.
Hmm.
Any final thoughts or feelings on that
No, I
one?
mean, to me, that always rings like a problem because why wouldn't the client contact just tell you, oh, I can only do calls every other week, or oh, I can only do 15-minute calls, or oh, I don't want to do calls at all. Like, why don't they just tell you that? Because so to me, if they're not telling you something, it's just because they're dodging you because they're basically going to get rid of you soon.
Mhm.
But that, of course, is also me with my glass half empty look on many things.
It can for sure mean that, but it doesn't always. I
It
but
doesn't seem like it's a great thing though, regardless. It's not great
it's
news.
never good. It's never
Yeah,
good, but whether it's not good because you just don't get what you need from the client or whether it's not good because they're unhappy,
right.
but usually not getting info from them leads to them not being happy, so it's like,
Right, it's a
it's
spiral. It's
like
going to
right, it's
lead
like
to a bad
the
place
it's
eventually.
like putting the cart before the horse, or the
Yeah.
or like which came first, the chicken or the egg? I guess that's the right metaphor.
So PR, like, people come in, oh, I gotta, learn how to write for the media and deal with the media. But the client part is half of it. And
Mhm,
that's really challenging most of the time.
mhm.
Because at least with the media, 9 times out of 10, there's sort of a way you go about it. But a client could be different in every case.
Yeah,
I don't think they teach you that in college.
they
I
do
don't know
not.
what they teach you that in college, but they don't teach you that.
I mean, they didn't teach me that in college. Maybe somebody does.
Well, I mean, there's more PR like degrees. I never even knew that what PR was or that there was a PR degree, but I
Right,
see a
right.
lot of people graduating college with PR degrees, and when I talk to them, it's so typical. It's all this like theoretical stuff. It's never like, rubber hits the road stuff.
Totally.
Veronica says that in college when she was getting her degree, they told her that she would do fun, funky brand stunts with endless budget. I can see that. PR. You do put a pyramid of like, penguins out in the middle of Times Square. Like,
I love that you just came up with that bizarre example on the spot.
well,
Now all I
if
wanna
somebody
see,
steals it,
it's like you put it no, but now that you put it out there, all I wanna
it's
see
gonna happen.
is a pyramid of penguins in Times Square. Like,
How
I'm so
about
disappointed you made that up, and I can't go find that online right now.
a pyramid of pink flamingos?
Even better, even better. Although PETA would be there, so maybe not.
But they wouldn't be there for the penguins
They'd be there for both, for either.
with endless budget.
Yes, with that much budget, whatever quarter that is you put up. A
It's a
dollar?
penny. It's a
Penny?
penny,
Penny.
but it's a penny eraser.
Oh my gosh. The number of, like, little gadgets and trinkets on your desk that can be
It's not
pulled up.
even if you got here, you'd be like, wait, they're not even anything here. How do you keep pulling stuff out? It's because I'm like Pee Wee Herman, second coming. All right.
So funny. All right. Well, with that, do you want to wrap it up?
I'll take it. I can't help but say that. It's
I know.
so
I started it. It's my fault.
prime. Okay. Yes. And I want to say to everybody, thank you for tuning in to the PR Wind Down podcast.
Remember to submit your own agency stories and questions and share our show with your friends and colleagues. If you subscribe and leave us a rating, it helps us reach new listeners like you. We can't
wait to wind down
down
with
with
you
you
again
again
next
next
time.
time. Wow. So bad. So bad every
Dun,
time.
dun, 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 dun.